What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Monday, January 21st, 2025. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil for episode 321. Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody out there. Hopefully everyone takes a few minutes out of their day to remember how impactful of a man he was and how much he changed the world in his time here. It was cut short, but the memory and everything that he did lives on, and just this one day, not just remember this one day, but all year long. It was just this one day that you really stands out because it is in honor of him. So hopefully everybody can take some time out of their day and just remember how I said, impactful of a man he truly was. But we're going to dive into this because it is 10:07 on Sunday night. The Bills literally just ended. That's why Phil's face looks a little yellow, because his computer's saying, hey, you're up way too late. But remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective. Yeah, TikTok's back, baby. And on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's article will be out tomorrow on Tuesday. My power rankings will be out on Thursday. Both of those, again, buffalosportscollective.com. You can check out our store on our link tree on our social media sites or at the top of the website by just hitting the shop tab. You can represent our company, the BSC, on the go and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. Yes, the Bills just got their victory, but we're a Bandits-centered show, and they got a massive victory on Saturday night, 19-14. Burns setting career best with 7 goals. Frazier came alive as we expected with 3. Kluch and McKay each had 2. Kluch in his return. Nanticoke, Wires was his first career NL goal. Dawson, Priolo, and Smith each with 1. Vince, 36 of 50 saves. Shots were 62-50 in favor of Buffalo. Faceoffs, 25-12 in favor of Buffalo. Power play, everybody was eating. Buffalo 2 for 4. Philly 3 for 3. Phil, where do you want to start with this onslaught of goals? 33 total scored.
Yeah, I think not that he ever needs to be mentioned, because he's incredible and is already on earth-shattering paces, but Smith kind of went under the radar in this game because of Byrne and Frazier having big breakout games, and I mean, he just very calm and coolly had 9 assists again in this game for a 10-point game. Yeah, he only had 1 goal, but another 9 assists. Just insane. I don't think he's really being talked about in this game at all, because it's just something we've grown accustomed to, and everybody else had eye-popping numbers as well. But just want to throw that out there. But I guess because they put up 19, we can start with the offense if you'd like to start there.
Yeah, I'm doing a couple quick things of math here.
Okay.
And while I'm doing that, Dane Smith's on pace for 136.8 assists.
Not a big deal. Not a big
Josh
deal.
Byrne, let me do his really quick. Divided by 5 times 18. He's on pace for 104. So, yeah, even though Dane Smith's on pace to shatter the record, Josh Byrne's also on pace to shatter the record from last year that's set by Dane Smith as well. But, yeah, 3-1 after 1, 13-5 at half because, they put up a 10 spot in the second, 16-10 after the third. This team on offense is just unstoppable right now. I mean, their lowest output right now on the season is 13 versus the Rochester Nighthawks the second time they faced them. They've got a 15, an 18, a 13, a 15, and a 19. It's just ungodly what this team's doing right now. I mean, 5 goals to start the second within 3 minutes and 21 seconds. 3 goals to stop the Philly 2-goal run in 1:08. Rezater scored to make it 11-8, and then Byrne would score 22 seconds later. Kluch would score 22 seconds after that. Caputo on the power play would make it 14-7. Then 58 seconds later, Frazier would score, and then Burns would score 1:15 after that. 6 straight by Philly between the 2:16-minute mark in the third and the 11:55 in the fourth to make it 16-13. But this team just made timely goals. Besides that 6-goal run, this offense was just unbelievable right now. 3 calls against Buffalo. 1 of them was iffy, but like you said, with this offense, everybody was eating. I mean, everybody in total on the team besides Vince and LaRue had at least 1 point in this one. But with the forwards we'll talk about, Nanticoke, 1-1-2, 4 shots on net, 2 loose balls. Kluch in his return, 2-2-4, 6 shots on net, 5 loose balls. McKay taking some shifts at forward because I listened to Johnny T's press conference when I was in there. Pretty much said, like, McKay's our leading goal scorer. We have to have him there. So he gave him more of the green light to stay on the field, run out the front door, but they definitely needed him on the back end as well. He scored 2, 3 shots, 5 loose balls, a caused turnover. Byrne, the 7-5-12 night, we made him our BSC MVP of the week, obviously. 15 goals, or 15 shots on net, 15 goals would be record-setting for the NLL. 6 loose balls. Scanlon was quiet, but, man, was he making noise. I will have a bone to pick about that one in a second, but Buchanan, 1 assist, 5 shots on net, 4 loose balls. Smith, like you said, very quiet, 1, 9, and 10, 8 shots on net, 8 loose balls. And then Frazier, this was a massive game for him because he's been so quiet. If we kind of said it with the lack of block shots on this team, that this could be a Frazier game more than a Nanticoke type of game, and it definitely was. 3, 4, and 7, 11 shots on net, 3 loose balls, kind of came alive on Honky Tonk Night.
Yeah, the big thing for me with this offense, which hasn't been an issue at all, and it's very, very difficult to criticize a 19-goal performance, but there were so many chances they had to make this like 25 to 30 goals without a problem, and it's just like it wasn't that they were almost goals that almost squeaked through, the defense was diving in or something, or the goalie had to make a big save. Like, there were such great setups by the offense where there was literally an empty net that was missed multiple times. Buchanan had 2 back-to-back. There was another one that was a dive behind the net that was wide open but just took too long to dive behind the net. Smith had another one. Again, great passing, led to a wide-open net, and he couldn't bury it. Like, it's really hard to criticize a team that just put up 19 goals, but the fact that they put up 19 goals and this team can still get better and this offense can still get better and has room to improve is pretty insane. And the fact that they left goals out on the floor when they put up 19 is pretty insane. So, I mean, the offense is just, they're rolling to an entirely different level. Again, they easily could have put up 23, 24, 25 goals. They missed some really easy opportunities, but those opportunities only happened because the offense is passing and playing as well as they were. So really not a ton to say about the offense because when you put up 19 goals, other than, yeah, they're amazing, there's really not too much to get into. But when a player is hot, this is kind of what we talked about for a while now with the Bandits. They don't really have one go-to guy on any given, like on every night. They don't always go to Byrne. They don't always go to Smith. They don't always go to McKay. It's whoever has that hot stick. In this game, 7 goals on 15 shots for Byrne. They just kept feeding him, and why not? Until it's not working, keep throwing him the ball and feeding him, and that's what they did. Everyone just kind of got out of his way. Every single shot he had was pretty much going in. So between him and Fraser, when a player is hot, you just kind of keep going with that player on this team because they are so diverse, and anybody can score like that at any given time. I mean, like you said, record night for Byrne for himself. And we also haven't even seen more than a hat trick so far this season from Byrne. Like you just mentioned earlier, he's been a big assist guy, hasn't really had to score a lot of goals. So it was good to see him have a breakout goal performance because on this team, yes, McKay's having an incredible start to the year, but to me, Byrne is their go-to goal-scoring threat still, even if he wasn't having a really hot start. So to see him put in 7 and kind of just re-emphasize that he is that guy, I think it was really good for the team and really good for the offense moving forward.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is due to Chris Kluche coming back into the offense and being that big body on that side, because as good as McKay has been on offense, scoring those goals, like you said, he's got 2 5-goal games this season. Scanlon, he's being that little water bug. I like to reference him as like a Buchanan for the lefties right now, because of like that loose ball he was able to get in that corner with 3 guys draped on him. It was unbelievable. He's playing at an unbelievable pace right now. I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep him in the lineup, because we talked about it a couple shows ago. He's probably going to have to come out and go back down to the practice squad, but knowing that you have him in your back pocket right now is unbelievable. And he's only, 22, 23 years old. He's going to continue to grow and continue to thrive and grow in this offense. But, yeah, I mean, having Kluch back in there, that big-bodied guy that's able to free up space for a Byrne, that's what you saw. Like, nobody was within his space by 5 feet on 4 or 5 of those goals because of the space that was being created out there. I mean, it's not just the unbelievable underhanded goal that he scored for his seventh. It's not just the inside one, the little twister that he's got. Like 4 or 5 of them were from outside, and nobody was within 5 feet from him because the lanes were being set and because of the ball work around. It's unbelievable. But the back checking continued, and it wasn't just. I didn't see as much of it this week as I did last week, and I think a lot of that is due to they weren't taking those opportunities or those chances and might have been risking it a little bit more last week, knowing that, okay, Toronto doesn't have the same firepower that Phillies does. And, in the end, it was only a 1-goal difference between what Toronto scored last week and Philly scored this week. But going in, Philly's 14.8 goals a game was their average. They were number 2 in the league. So I think you saw less back-checking, less cause turnovers this week because of that, but you still had Scanlon back-checking like a pest out there. I mean, that's the thing that I want to note. Right now, as of the box score right now, he is being credited for 0 cause turnovers. I counted at least 2 he should have gotten exact cause turnovers for. One of them he was able to push, and this isn't even a cause turnover he probably should have gotten credit for. He pushed the Philly defender back into the crease, causing a turnover there. Him and I think it was Buchanan or McKay. I can't remember. It was Buchanan. I got it in my notes right here. The great work that caused the 8 seconds turnover there. I mean, the stats like alone that are not being recognized in the NLL, and I think Steve Priolo, again, go listen to Dinner with the Captain, great podcast, but he's saying that they don't have enough statisticians out there to keep track of cause turnovers and loose balls out there, that some of these are being lost. And Scanlon is the prime example of it. He's got at least 2 that should be coming to him by Wednesday that he was not credited for. But I really think that's the reason that the back-checking numbers were not as high as they were last week, because they wanted to get off the floor and make sure they got their defense on the floor because of how powerful Philly's offense has been. But still, you were noticing multiple times McKay on that power play, he was able to get a cause turnover as well. They have that ability, and by the season's end, I would not be shocked if 3 or 4 of these forwards on this team have 8, 9, 10 cause turnovers on the whole season.
Yeah, and I guess with the cause turnovers, we can switch over to the defense, which was a real mixed bag of nonsense. They played out of their minds in the first half, shutting that team down, this incredible Philly offense to, what was it? Oh, my God.
1 goal in the first quarter.
Not only that, what was it? 13-5 at half, so 5 goals, but 2 were power plays, I believe, in the first half.
They kept them off the scoreboard for the first
14 minutes.
14 minutes, yeah.
And 2 of the 5 in the first half were power plays. So 3 even strength goals in the first half against one of the best offenses.
It took nearly 22 minutes to score their first 5-on-5 goal.
Yeah, which is insane. And Vince was having a great bounce back in this game as well. He made a lot of big saves. He looked much more like the Vince we're used to seeing, which we've said multiple times. After a bad game, he usually has a big bounce back game. And I thought he did in this one. Out of the goals that were let in, I thought there was only 1, maybe 2 that Vince really should have had. The defense in the second half really let him down. I think it was just a matter of the team thinking it was over way too early. It was just, they just kind of gave up, especially when it was 15-7 after they had scored those 2 goals back-to-back in the third. I think they just kind of gave up in the sense of the urgency to play really strong, really solid defense. And the problem is, like, in this kind of game, no offense to Philly, but the rivalry is just not there right now. So there's not that extra drive or passion. Like, if you were beating up on Toronto, your intensity is still going to be really, really high no matter what the score is, because you just simply don't like that team. Philly and the Bandits don't really have that right now. So as the game went on, as their lead kept progressing, they kind of took their pedal off the metal there. And I think a lot of the goals right in a row were all on the defense. Like, it was just bam, 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 bam. And the defense just played very, very poorly for a stretch of, 6 in a row. And then what good teams do and what good goalies do and championship caliber teams do, once it got within 3 goals, they regrouped, locked it down, ended up leading the rest of the way 3-1, ended up winning comfortably. But that little bit of lapse you can't really have, and I know the team will be addressing that. They will go into, next week or 2 weeks now, just not allowing that to happen again. I think this is one of those things that once it happens once, you realize, all right, we got to keep going. There's no time to ease up, especially against a really good Philly offense. Like, it just wasn't the team to kind of let the gas off against, and Philly showed what they can do when they're given time and space to score. They had a lot of great goals right in a row, but luckily a championship caliber team like this locked it down, ended up going on a 3-1 run to end the game, and ended up with a not so close score. But that little bit of a gap there, that 6-goal run Philly went on where they were scoring pretty much almost every single possession for a little bit there, that has to be cut out. But for the most part, that first half, if you want to focus on the positives of the defense, that first half was absolutely incredible. And if that's the level of defense they can play throughout a whole game, this team will continue to be untouchable.
Yeah, and I'll also put a little of that is it could be a little bit of fatigue as well, being down both some of your best lockdown defenders in Zach Belter and Justin Martin, and putting back a E. McKay who's been on the 4 group pretty much exclusively all season. So it's going to take him a little bit of time to adjust there. Then you're also having him run out and stay some shifts out there, so he's getting extra tired. You also got Sam LaRue in his first game back there, who I thought he played spurts of really good lacrosse and spurts of really bad lacrosse, and it still looks like he is still adjusting to the defensive side of the NLL box game, which he really has not played. He's been a forward most of his career, and last year was his first taste at defense. Really didn't like it, but this year I liked some good burst of defense, and I think that's some of the burst that I saw was some of the best defensive play I've seen out of him in his entire career. There were some lapses, but that'll kind of hopefully work itself out. I thought he had a pretty decent game, but that adds to the fatigue. Last week, you already remember Nick Weiss was in the box for how many minutes in the first half. So you're running the defense extra out there. You had Zach Belter also get hurt and not play the entire fourth quarter. So that's extra time that the defense is doing there. In this one, I just mentioned it, McKay and Sam LaRue. You're running out the same guys. So it could have been a little bit of fatigue in back-to-back that they're not used to as well. But some of these were just like weird goals. Like, you had the Catoni was supposed to be a pass, and it went off pretty much Steve Perilla's head and through Matt Vince's 5-hole. That was a weird one. You had Caputo, who scored the 7th one. He jumped for the loose ball and put it back in midair. You had, there was such few like weird ones. Like I think it was the 5th goal. Yeah, the 5th goal right before halftime. Leclerc's late off the bench because they pulled him, I think it was Deacon Knott at that point. And I don't think the pass was designed for him. He was just in the right spot at the right time to pick up the pass and just sprint right through the middle. So it's just, there were some fluky goals, some weird goals. There was only one that I really noticed that was really inside on 5-on-5, and it was the Jones one where it was kind of weird. I think it was LaRue and Weiss were next to each other, and he kind of just
Jones
rolled them off and dove through the crease.
Slow motion 360. It was such a slow developing play. I was like, oh my gosh, hit him. He's going like 1 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Goofy looking play.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think there was too many defensive lapses. I think there are some things that need to be tightened up. I mean, back-to-back games, giving up 13 and 14 after you were locked down. I do think getting Martin or Belter back after the break is definitely going to help this defense and get things sorted out. I was kind of rooting to see a little Taylor Dooley in this one. I kind of understand why they didn't, because against a second, power or second in the league scoring offense, that kind of makes sense not to throw your rookie out to do that. But yeah, I mean, it looked really good. Vince, I thought, played really, really solid. I don't think, like you said, I counted 2 that were, I think he would want back. The Catoni one that he gets beat, or he beats Vince outside. He kind of shoots over Dawson. I don't know if Dawson screened him, but I feel like he would want that one back. And then the Caputo one where he dishes it and then gets it right back, and it's a quick one-timer where Wires is on him, but I don't think he's right on him. I think Vince would want that one back. But 2 out of 14 that I think Vince would want back, I mean, you're kind of picking hairs here. He made multiple back-to-back incredible saves. I think it was in the first half. The 6:30 mark. He made the first save. He's still on the ground and then just stuck up his hand. He made that one. 2 big-time saves. First one, Perillo doesn't switch off, and then the rebound goes off his shoulder on the opposite side. Back-to-back massive saves, in the third with a minute in. He was making big-time saves. This was a bounce back. As much as you want to criticize him for 14 goals going in, only 2 I would count on him. 3 of them were on the power play. So, I mean, there's the fluky one that I mentioned off Priolo's head. I thought he had a very solid bounce back game, regardless of the 14 goals that went in.
Yeah, I really didn't see much from him that I didn't like. I mean, the last game, there were a lot that, yes, the defense didn't help him, but there were a lot that you could tell he just wasn't quite on his game, was playing a little bit just weird, and he just didn't seem as Matt Vince-like as we've seen him all year. And this one, like you just said, he was making the big saves. The 14 goals on paper look awful for him, but I really don't think he played poorly, which is weird to say for 14 goals for the defense and Vince. Like, neither really did that bad, but they still allowed 14 goals. I mean, not something you want to get used to. Hopefully the defense, like you said, missing a few players, a little bit exhausted, a little bit of new players on the defense. I mean, LaRue hasn't really played with this team that much, so trying to play off of LaRue and what he's going to do, like, they just don't have that chemistry quite yet as he does with, that everybody does with Martin and Belter. So hopefully when they get their players back, they can get a little bit more like that. Those first 3 games of that lockdown defense, I mean, credit to Philly. They're a really, really good offense. They showed it. They proved it. So, I mean, it is some credit to them for sure. So I really don't think the defense or Vince played that bad, but hopefully they can get that number 14 back down to the, 8, 9, 10 range. 14 is a little bit too high, but when your offense is putting in over 15 a game, it's not too much of a worry. But at some point, when they play a little bit of a closer game, you're going to want that number back down. But overall, really didn't see too much bad out of them. The power play for Philly is lethal, and I think it's honestly really good for the Bandits' penalty kill, which was number 1, to see how a team can do so well against them and adapt and learn from that. It's not, like we've said multiple times, like winning blowout games or winning games by a bunch, like, it doesn't teach you anything about what you need to do as a team to improve. Whereas a team goes 3 for 3 against you on the power play, you can watch that film back over and over and over and learn, okay, this is what teams can do to beat us. How can we counter that and beat them again? So I do think it's actually, in a weird way, good that the power play allowed 3 goals against a good power play in the entire NLL to see how they can counter that and what they can do to be better moving forward.
Yeah, and 2 things on that one. The Buffalo went, what did they go? 2 for 4,
2 and 4
on the power play. But you got to take that a little bit with a grain of salt because 3 of the goals that they scored were on a delayed call. So really, if you want to add that in, they went, 5 for 7? So, I mean,
on the man up.
On the man up. So that can be factored in there. I mean, that has hurt their power play chances because they've just been scoring so well on the extra attacker all season long. But yeah, with the penalty kill, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Philly's power play, it's not that they have extreme talent with their forward group. There's no denying that whatsoever. You got Rezateris, Jones, and Catoni all within the top scorers in the league. But the speed at which they're passing the ball around, that definitely hurt the Buffalo Bandits because a lot of times the teams that they were facing before, it's okay, pass it over here, set the pick, and you get the roll, and the Buffalo's able to have a little bit more time to adjust. Facing Philly, it's just so fast-paced, non-stop passing it around that there's really no time to, okay, now I got to pick up my stick here. Like, Wires got beat so badly on the one because he was not expecting the passes to go by so quickly. Like, his stick was still at his knees on I believe it was Blaze Reardon cashing it in, just like a quick dunk.
Yep.
He just, it's one of those ones where, yes, your penalty kill might be tops in the league, but you need to be able to adjust to what the power play is doing, and I don't think they were able to do that in this one. So getting smacked in the mouth a little bit, I don't think is a bad thing. So it is something that they'll have to adjust to, but I'm not really worried. I think they're going to be able to adjust just fine on the penalty kill whatsoever. But, with the miscellaneous stuff, I guess the only really thing I got to clean up, I thought the refs had a nice bounce back game. I know it's not the same refs that they reffed the previous one, but we'll give them their flowers. I thought there was one call that was a little bit of a sell job with, I don't know who it was. It was Nanacoke that got the call. I don't know who it was, but Nanacoke got his hands up and the guy kind of flopped a little. I thought that was an iffy call, but the ref was kind of behind the play, just saw the guy fall on the ground. But other than that, all the calls were correct. I thought Farrell in the first half was doing a phenomenal job of not only winning it, but winning it and not running into a corner or running against the boards. He was finding the open guys. There was one time where he won the faceoff, ran around, got to the end boards by the bench, and then shot it over across to Bucky. That was perfect. I mean, we went to the shoot around. We were going, okay, this is nice and all, but why can't they run out? Okay, it's 5-on-5. He wins the draw. What do you do with it? But I did see multiple times he was winning it, scooping it to himself, and dishing it back exactly what he's doing in the shoot around. So maybe that is what they're working on with him. But I absolutely loved what he did in the first half. Second half, it seemed like Burton made the adjustments that we have known Farrell to do so far this season, because I think he only won like 4 draws in the second half. I think he had 21 in the first half. So that was the first time that I've seen him this year really get beat at halftime adjustments. But I will give it to him. He played phenomenal in the first half, winning the draws and finding the open guy. I can't remember a single time where he kind of got into trouble on his own. And let me correct myself, because I don't believe he got caught with any turnovers in this one compared to 3 last game. Farrell, 2 turnovers, but I don't remember them being bad turnovers. They might have just been, I think the first one was the one he won, scooped it between his legs, and it went right to the Philly guy who got a shot on net. So that was one of them. I really think he had a phenomenal first half and an okay second half.
And whatever the new sound effect they added is fantastic.
It's been there for a week or two, but it's been louder this week.
Maybe that's what it was. What did they say? We need some milk?
Yeah, I think so.
It's pretty hilarious, and I laughed most of the time.
You have chases on the case. You've had a few like spurts of, but this one was nonstop. We need milk or whatever.
Every single time he won it cleanly, they threw it out there, and it was a good break from the country music. So well played.
Thank you.
Yeah, the country music was a bit much.
Didn't like it.
Goodness. Sorry for the country fans out there. I'm not one of them, and that was a lot of country for an NLL game. I mean, it worked. Kind of. They put up 19 goals, so I mean, I was sleeping through a little bit of it, but it worked in the end. I don't think I have too much miscellaneous to go over. I think you've hit pretty much everything. I know you have one more note. I don't know if you want to go over that one more note.
The Mickey one?
Yeah.
It was just more a reminder. I mean, he got hit in the head, but I think that was the right call to drop it down to a 2.
I think it was
it was unintentional. I think he got shoulder to shoulder first and then went up into the head. So I do believe it was a 2. I think that was the right call. But I think the refs handled this game really well. I don't think there were. They stayed out of it, and that's what you want to see. They called it consistent. You didn't see any missed calls on either side. You didn't see any egregious calls on either side. I think this was a very well-ref game compared to what we saw last week. But, before we get into the milestones and NL look-around, Phil, let's dive into our first and only sponsor of the show, Tap That Taproom.
Tap That Taproom is at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York, Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps, offering a variety of ciders, sours, beers, seltzers, and malt beverages.
Now, it's been gone for a few weeks now, but Geeks Who Drink Trivia is back this Wednesday, the 22nd at 7:30. And then Thursday, we've been pushing it for weeks now because we're big fans of it, and we think this is an awesome idea. But this Thursday, we just put out the reel yesterday, I believe it was. Downey Cider, they're going to be at Tap That Taproom from 7 to 9 on Thursday. There's Downey Cider and coloring. It's a very chill night. We're going to try our best to be in attendance. Thursday is our recording night. We're going to try our best to push that to Wednesday. It sounds like a fantastic time. There's ciders to sample. There's adult coloring. So why not take a little bit of adult apple juice, take some adult crayons, have a nice, fun night down at Tap That Taproom. Grab your friend, be in attendance, because we're going to try our best to be in attendance for that, because it sounds like an absolutely wonderful night, and I am a massive cider guy, so I can't wait if I can get there. But for all other posted events, because they have big ones coming up, especially a Bills watch party, I keep saying it and it keeps working. It could be their last one next Sunday. But for all their other posted events, check out their Facebook page and find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Check out tapthattaproom.com. Phil, we had multiple milestones. They came so close. First one, Nick Weiss was 2 assists away. He had 1. Byrne was 9 loose balls away. He had 6. Frazier needed 5 loose balls. He had 3. Wires needed 7 loose balls. He had 6. And Justin Martin did not play. But we did have some. Chris Cloutier, all he had to do was come back, man. All he had to do was come back, and I don't have to say these anymore. He needed 2 more points to tie Troy Cordonley for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He got 4, so he passed him. He is sole 9th place now. He also needed 2 loose balls for 300 for his career. He has 5, so he has 303. That math checks out. And then Farrell. Was not expecting him to get 15 loose balls in this one, so I didn't mention it on the show, but he did. So he is exactly at 100 loose balls for his career. Congratulations to Chris Cloutier and Connor Farrell.
Nice job to both of you. Farrell is going to be hunting down Chris Cloutier's loose ball. I was say record. It's not a record, but where he is in the standings, he's coming after him. He's already 1/3 of the way there with his 15 in this game.
Yeah, he's been an absolute monster. I think he's got 54 right now on the year, leading the team.
Face-off guys, man, they get a lot of loose balls.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, but it's benefiting them. He is currently, where is he? He tied for 12th in the league with 53 loose balls.
We'll take it.
Withers is up there at 61. Nardella's at 61. Inaccio's at 58. Jansen is at 56, Kurse is at 54. So I'm kind of just like weeding out all their face-off men. And then Mike Messenger, he's not their face-off man in the rush anymore. It's Nassau. But I will move on because who really cares about all that nonsense I was just working through. But the NLL outlook here, Vancouver, so close. But they fall in Ottawa. 9-8, 5-5 at half, and this is going to be a very common theme. A lot of games were tied at half. Ottawa would score 3 in the third, and the first one in the fourth. Vancouver would score 3 straight, but fall short to Ottawa, who moves to 4-2 on the year. Vancouver's down at 3-3, 3-2. They could be 3-3 with a game on Monday. Sundown finally coming alive these last 2 games. If he can get going, this offense is absolutely scary. And Higgins, unbelievable, man. Like, I know I mentioned him so often this offseason, but it's for the right reason. He was unbelievable in this one. Vancouver, again, not scoring goals. I know Higgins was great, but Vancouver, man, 0 for 5 on the power play. The Rochester Nighthawks come back in this one and defeat Halifax. Like I told you, it's tough to win back-to-back home-and-home games, and that's why I picked Rochester in the NLL Pick'em. Tied 4-4 at half. Like I said, Halifax would score 4 of 5 in the third, but Rochester would score 5 of 6 in the fourth. Fields 4-2-6. Hutchcraft played really well in this one, 42 of 51 saves, and Halifax kind of went quiet besides Stotts, who went 3-2-5 on 16 shots. Hill got the start in this one, 47 of 51 saves, deserved a better outcome. Saskatchewan falls to the once winless Toronto Rock. Rock take this one 11-8. Again, tied 5-5 at half. Rochester 6-3 in the second half. Schreiber's back in this one, 3-4-7. TD Erling got back, so Rock are getting a little bit more healthy as the season goes. Rose 41 of 49 saves, and Saskatchewan kind of went quiet. Mans 1-1-2. Keenan still played well, 2-4-6. Church 2-2-4, but Shanks 1 assist in this one. Chiliano played really well, 43 of 53 saves. Again, another goalie that deserved a better outcome. Colorado falls to Albany. Another game, back-to-back home and homes. Albany takes this one 13-10 in a massive must-win game for them. Colorado led 5-4 at half and 8-7 after 3, but Albany 6-2 in the fourth. Kurtz and Simmons had really nice games. Johansson, 12 loose balls and a caused turnover, and Walker was really, really well played in this one. Jameson, 42 of 52 saves, and Colorado kind of went quiet in the offensive department, especially Kelly. 1 goal on 6 shots. 2 more. Calgary wins in overtime, 12-11. Again, tied 6-6 at half. I don't know what the heck was going on this week, Phil. It was unbelievable. Hayden Dixon wins in overtime. Calgary steals this one from Georgia. Georgia's on a 3-game losing streak. Q won 7-8, but Lyles 3-6. They need more offense in this one. And then the final one that we can talk about, because Vancouver and Philly play on Monday, Las Vegas getting a big win versus San Diego in front of their first sellout crowd. That promotion won them the game. 12-10. Vegas 5-3 at half, 9-8 after 3. Donville played really well, but it was Hannah who led the night 3-5-8. And the biggest note here, Kells benched Justin Getty in, 42 of 52 saves. Unbelievable performance by Justin Getty.
Yeah, and his war cry at the end of the game after he finished off his victory was pretty fantastic. San Diego was fighting hard to get back in there, but they had a late penalty that kind of ended that hope.
Goal that was reversed, yeah.
Yeah, The big thing with all of this is the same thing that has been the problem with the NLL for the whole season so far. We've learned nothing at all about anything in the NLL except the fact that the Bandits are number 1 and 5-0, and they are the only team to go 5-0. I know that's weird to say because Georgia's all the way down at 4-3 now, but Georgia was 4-0 before their little losing skid, and the Bandits were 4-0, so they're the first team now, and only team, obviously, they're undefeated, to go 5-0 on the year, so that's good for the Bandits, but the rest of the league, I don't know. San Diego is now under 500 and looks atrocious at times, looks okay at times. Georgia is kind of having the same issue they've had forever. They can't score. Colorado and Albany, I mean, good for the Bandits that Colorado lost, but Albany, I don't know, you're starting to kind of come back. Toronto starting to kind of come back a little bit. Rochester trying to also fight to come back a little bit. Ottawa putting together some good wins, but Ottawa's winning everything extremely close and not really separating themselves in any game. So, yes, they're winning, but they're not doing it very well. I know Vancouver's a good team, so that's a gritty win. It's a good win to get against one of the top teams in the league, arguably, right now. But I don't know. Other than the Bandits being far and away so far and not a homer pick, I think everybody kind of agrees right now the Bandits are far and away the number 1 team and have crushed every competition they've seen. Outside of that, I have no idea what is going on in this league. And with the teams that started well starting to fall, it's really opening up a lot of things for the teams that started slow and are starting to pick it up and get some wins. Even like a Toronto is right back in it. Albany's right back in it. Not that they were ever out by any means, but like the teams that were starting to separate at the top are now falling back to the middle, and the teams that were starting to separate at the bottom are starting to also fall back to the middle. Outside the Bandits, it's really getting real jammed and real close throughout the standings everywhere. I mean, that Vancouver-Philly game is going to be huge for the standings this early on. I mean, it's going to be big. I mean, whatever team wins separates themselves a little bit from the top, and the other one's going right back to the middle with everybody else. I know it's still early. I mean, a lot of teams like the Bandits have only played 5 games. Some have played 6, 7, 8. It's all over the place. Georgia, once again, I think they had the problem last year where they were playing more than anybody to start the season. They're doing it again. But everything that we've seen so far, everything's just incredibly log-jammed, and no team other than the Bandits is really separating, honestly, one way or the other. I mean, again, the bottom teams, that some of them shouldn't really be bottom teams, but even Vegas, that's a huge win against San Diego. Can they start to climb out of the basement and make themselves a competitor in this league? I mean, it's possible. Right now, anything is possible for any of these teams, and really just this far in, you'd like to see some separation or explanation of who's good, who's bad, and right now I don't think there's really anything you can say definitively about any team other than the Bandits, which is good for Buffalo and great for the league. I mean, unified standings are working like a charm right now with playoffs wide open.
Yeah, like we mentioned all offseason, especially leading up to this, it's so difficult to find out what this league is going to look like, and it's kind of showing. There were 8 teams that made the playoffs last year, Phil. Panther City was one of them. They folded. So really there's 7 teams in this league that made playoffs last year. If the playoffs started today, only 2 that made it last year are in a playoffs position right now, and that's Buffalo, who's in the number 1 spot, and Georgia, who's in the 7th spot. San Diego, Rochester, Halifax, Albany, and Toronto that all made playoffs last year are on the outside looking in. That's just unbelievable. And like you mentioned, Buffalo sitting at 5-0. You got Philly, Ottawa, and Saskatchewan sitting at 4-2. So Buffalo has a game and a half buffer between all the other teams. Then you got Vancouver, who's sitting at 3-2. They could be 4-2 coming up. You got Calgary at 3-2. Georgia and Colorado 4-3. Then you got San Diego, like you mentioned, under 500 at 3-4. Rochester gets that big win. They're sitting at 3-5. Halifax 2-4. Then you got Vegas and Albany at 2-5, and Toronto 1-5. I mean, like you mentioned, no team's out of this. No team has played half their games yet. I know there's Rochester has played all 8 weeks. I think they're finally getting a bye this week. Or actually, no, they're not. They still have a game next week as well. Let me double check. Yeah, they face Colorado, so they're going to be playing 9 straight weeks. It's unbelievable. They kind of got the short end of the stick on this one, but boo-hoo, Rochester.
I think Buffalo would love that.
Yeah, Buffalo would absolutely love playing a few more than 5. They get another bye coming up this week, but yeah, this unified standings, I'm going to go on record. I was a little bit skeptical of what it would be when it was introduced last year. But I was like, okay, I mean, everybody's going to play everybody. You're going to be able to see all these star players around the league coming to your home barn. So I do like that. But this might be, hands down, one of the best moves that the NLL has ever made, making a unified standings, because it is showing that this league is so competitive, and there's not much of a difference between the top seed in Buffalo and, we saw it last week, the bottom seed in Toronto. It's unbelievable. So I don't know if you have any other NLL talk or Bandits talk before we move on to the Bills.
Other than the fact that Dane and Josh
they're pretty good,
ridiculous, and
they're pretty good.
On pace to just obliterate all NLL records. I know it's only 5 games in, but they're pretty good. They are pretty good at lacrosse. That's all I got.
Yeah, they're decent, and again, we say it all the time.
In this game, before we go away from it, I mean, it was great that the refs kept the whistle in the pocket, because after this week's games, you had the top 4 players right now in the NLL in stats and scoring and points were all in one game, and that game ended up going 19-14 and was a lot of fun. Not the best defense or goaltending on either end, even though Vince, I think, still did fine, but really, really high-scoring game from 2 really high-powered offenses, and arguably 4 of the best players in the entire world on offense going at it, and it was a really, really fun game to watch.
So we'll move on. We'll have more Bandits talk on the next show, even though they're on bye, so stay tuned for some stuff that we'll deal with. Again, too many buys, man. Too many buys. And after this one, I think they got one more buy on the year. So,
and it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Again.
Way to go. And then you got 2 home and homes, or back-to-back games in same weekend. So that's fun. But Bills, I know it took us 41 minutes to get to this point, but again, we're Bandit Central.
We got time breakdowns.
Yeah, there's plenty of it. That was a quicker breakdown, man. 42 minutes. Last week we were in the 58s by the time we got done with the game. But yeah, Bills versus Ravens. This was I'm not saying a must-win game for the Buffalo Bills, but it would have been 4 straight years or 5 straight years of losing in the divisional round.
I think it was 3 before this.
Yeah. They finally got out of it. 27-25 victory. It seemed like, gross. And I probably shouldn't have said this sitting on my couch watching this, but they go up 21-10 at halftime, and I'm like, okay, you're double dipping. You go out there, you score a touchdown. This game's pretty much done, because the Ravens are a run-focused team. They're not going to be able to do that. Lamar's going to have to pass it around. And he doesn't really have any wide receivers out there. And then they went 0 on their next 2 drives, and Baltimore got right back in it. It was nerve-wracking all the way to the end, but thank you, Mark Andrews. 2 massive drops in this one and a fumble. Mark Matthews, really, I saw somebody tweet this. He will never have to pay for a drink in Buffalo ever again.
Yeah, I mean, this game, it was gross. It was just so disturbing. I mean, the first half was amazing. By no means I think it was over. It was still very, very much in reach. And even, I think it was Romo, as like Lamar went in, and he was like, oh, yeah, he's telling his team they're not out of it. Obviously, it wasn't even a 2-touchdown lead. It was still very much in reach. The Bills had to go out. And right after that first half, I was like, all right, go out, at least put up 3 points. Put up points on the board in this possession. A touchdown would have been great, but some kind of points. You go 3 and out, you're like, all right, that's not good. And then the Ravens started running like we know how they can run. And we're like, okay, this is really bad. Your defense is getting tired. They were dominating the line of scrimmage, and now they're not dominating the line of scrimmage. And this team's going to just run it down your throat, and there's the game. And then the Bills on the flip side are like, hey, let's take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands and just run it up the middle 17 times in a row and eat the clock like we're winning by 17 plus points and it's a multi-possession game. It wasn't. I don't know. The play calling was very strange. I don't know why they were trying to eat the clock. I get you don't want to score quickly because you need your defense to go on a rest, but you have to score in order to win, and they just didn't seem like they were interested in doing that all that much. So I don't know. The defense came up huge in this game. I mean, Lamar had, 3 interceptions in the last 13 weeks of play, and he got one in this game. He had, I think, the team as a whole had 6 fumbles all year. They had 2 in this game. The defense was the only reason, in my opinion, you won this game. Yes, the offense did enough to win, but Josh put up 127 passing yards and threw the ball 22 times. He wasn't asked to do much, but he could have done more, and the offense could have done a lot more to make this game not as close as it was. The defense is absolutely the reason they are advancing, and it's good, I guess, because it's not something we often hear with the Bills. Like normally, I mean, especially throughout the season with some of those games, like the Detroit game, the defense got ran over, and it was Josh who saved the day and made sure they had enough points to win that game. And normally it is Josh saving the day, playing hero ball, getting enough points to win the game. This one, it was 100% the defense being able to control a ridiculously high-powered offense in the Ravens, and nobody gave the Bills defense any chance. It was another one of those games where if the Bills are going to win, it's going to be on Josh Allen to keep up with the Ravens, and luckily the Bills did just enough offensively, but mainly it was the Bills defense that just kept getting those turnovers, kept making the big plays, and even when they would give up a big play, they would come back with another big play of their own, and it was all, to me, the Bills defense is the reason you're moving on. And I mean, yes, the offense deserves some credit. 27 points against a good defense is still 27 points against a good defense, but the offense could have been much, much better. And if it wasn't for the 3 turnovers the defense was able to create, plus, like you said, Andrews dropping the ball a couple times, and the other 2-point conversion that Matt Milano was able to tip, this game's not looking like a Bills win.
Yeah, Matt Milano back-to-back AMC looks like vintage Matt Milano. But
yeah, he had some huge hits.
There's 2 massive reasons, well, I guess 3 massive reasons I'm happy Buffalo won. One, because they get out of the divisional round and finally get back to another AFC Championship. That's number 1. Number 2 is Lamar is going to get eaten alive this week. And if Buffalo had lost, that would have been Josh Allen, especially with his stat line. Josh Allen would have been just annihilated all week long into the offseason. It just would have been an onslaught of just Josh Allen's not good enough. He's never going to get past the divisional round. You know, he's not a franchise quarterback that can lead a team to the Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. So that's number 2 that I'm very happy that they got out of this round. Number 3 is if they had allowed the 2-point conversion, if Mark Andrews had not dropped that 2-point conversion, they would have went to overtime. Ravens would have won. This defense would have gotten annihilated when they shouldn't have. Because this defense, you're going against the Ravens, who are one of the best offenses in the league. You're going against Lamar Jackson, who's an MVP candidate. You're going against Derrick Henry, who just shows that Father Time is not going to bother him whatsoever.
Ran for 2,000 yards.
They controlled both of those guys this whole game. I mean, Baltimore had 10 points in the first half. And, the first drive in the second half, Buffalo had a punt. Baltimore goes all the way down the field, and they hold them to a field goal. And then Buffalo has a punt again, and they go down and score a touchdown. But Buffalo goes down and scores a field goal. And then you get that massive punch-out by Terrell Bernard. This defense just, yes, they were giving up wide-open players. Like, I'll admit, I was on the couch just going, how are these players constantly wide open? And I know the field conditions were not ideal for being able to adjust and be agile on your feet. So it was an advantage to the offense. But this defense was just, every time they needed to make a play, they made a massive play. Yes, Mark Andrews dropping 2 massive ones was a very, very...
It helped.
It helped a ton, especially that 2-point conversion that I can't believe he just dropped. It was unbelievable. But, the punch-out by Terrell Bernard, Damar Hamlin making a play of his career, being able to not only sack Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson just loses the ball out of his hand. Matt Milano running in and not giving Lamar Jackson any time, giving that meatball up for Taylor Rapp to make the catch. This defense, time and time and time again this year, no matter how much yardage they give up, they make those plays and they make those critical turnovers. Now, turnovers are kind of a sticky stat, kind of like touchdowns are for running backs or wide receivers. But it's become the norm for this defense to make those big time plays and give the offense the chances. So those are the 3 reasons that I'm very happy Buffalo won. 1, because you get out of this round, you keep advancing and we get to talk about you again. Number 2, because you're not going to be able to drag Josh Allen through the mud if he would have lost. And 3, the defense for once in a playoffs that it wasn't going to be their fault. You don't have to talk about them because many, many times in these playoffs, you've been able to blame the defense. This one, even if you would have given up, 30, 34 points, whatever it would have been, you couldn't blame the defense for it, because I thought in the second half, especially the offensive play calling made absolutely no sense. Like the first drive made no sense. The screen to Dawson Knox. Why are you giving a screen to Dawson Knox when you have Khalil Shakir on this team that doesn't go down after first contact?
Or Josh Allen.
And then the field goal. I understand why they kicked the field goal, and to an extent, I agree with it. I do not agree with the play call. Like, it's 3rd and goal from Baltimore's 2. If the goal is to run Josh Allen, why is he in shotgun? You're already making up 5 yards there. And then once you don't get that and you're further behind the sticks, then yes, you have to kick the field goal. That's why I agree. If it was 4th and 1, you go for it again with a tush push, because they can't be stopped. But because it's been too many times where Joe Brady tries to get a little bit too cute in those situations, that's come back to haunt them. It didn't in this one, but you're going against Kansas City and funny things happen. You cannot get cute against Kansas City next week.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the defense, bend don't break was definitely their thing. I mean, what was it? 1st and goal from the 2, and they were able to stuff Henry, stuff Lamar, and then stuff it again for a field goal. I mean, once they were 1st and goal from the 2, I was like, all right, that's a touchdown. It's over. You have, one of the best running quarterbacks in the league and the freight train that is Henry, and they were able to push him back on play 1 and then just made it even better on play 2, and were able to get out of it. It's those kind of plays that the defense was able to make that was huge. But one of the big keys for this game that you mentioned was a wide receiver stepping up that wasn't named Shakir.
I'm still waiting.
And yikes. And even the play calling, like you just said, like, it made no sense. Like, it wasn't until that last drive of the 4th quarter, that last drive where all of a sudden they were swinging it to Ty Johnson out of the backfield. They passed it to Mac Hollins, who was wide open. Like, where was that the whole game? Like, all of a sudden, you're like, okay, this is Josh Allen. This is the play calls we've been seeing all year with Ty Johnson, Mac Hollins, like, making things work when other things aren't there. And it was the rest of the game was just, all right, let's run it with our 3 running backs all over the place, just up the middle. And Cook did the best he could. He had an okay game. He had some pretty big runs, but for the most part, he was stuffed. But it's not even his fault, in my opinion. They just kept doing the same play over and over and over. It's like 1st down, run up the middle, 1st down, run up the middle. Like,
or 2nd and 5 after a good first play. Okay, Here comes a run play.
Run it up the middle.
Yep.
Like, it just made no sense. Then all of a sudden, again, on that last drive, you saw the creative play calling, and they march all the way down the field with ease and then just start eating the clock again. But, like, they made it look so easy all of a sudden. Like, where was that the whole game? And I don't know, and you might know more than I do, how much influence does McDermott have at this point on play calling? Is it all Brady, or is that something that McDermott's like, no, I need to run the clock out for my defense, run it, and doesn't really allow Brady to do the creative play calling that we saw in the last drive, that all of a sudden now they're moving the ball finally? Like, is McDermott getting in Brady's ear a little bit there and just telling him to play run football, or for the most part have the keys been turned over to Brady and that's all kind of on Brady for play calling?
Yeah, I know that's always been the whisper with McDermott wanting this run game. I mean, the running game has been their number one focus all year long, and it's definitely worked. And this one, you're coming in against a number one rushing defense versus Baltimore since, week 11?
They still put up 147 yards on the ground, which is insane. That's great.
I don't believe it's Sean McDermott in the ear. I think it's Joe Brady trying to be too cute and too conservative at times. There's just been too many times where it's just repetitive. Like, I think I put in our chat that Joe Brady did a great job of knocking himself down some head coaching ladders with some of the decisions he was making in this one. It's just the first drive of the second half, it was such a buzzkill. You go down there,
drive,
down there, you score at least 3. You're up 3 scores. This game looks completely different, and it's not as nerve-wracking as it is. But you go 0-3, and the play calling decisions are just questionable. Even when you the phantom holding call on Deion Dawkins, which I think the refs made up for on the Tre'Davious White DPI, which I don't believe was DPI. I think they should just let that go. But I think that was a makeup call.
Thank you, Tre'Davious.
Thank you. But still, you won. You don't have to drink a Buffalo either. But it was 2nd and 22. They draw Baltimore offside, so it's 2nd and 17. Yes, 2nd and 17 is probably unlikely to be picked up, but the back-to-back play calls were very confusing to me as well. You know it's going to be a blitz. Why do you not put Dalton Kincaid in a quick slant right across the middle, or Keon Coleman across the middle, or run Ty Johnson around the outside? Try to pick up so it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, but rather it's just like, okay, real quick pass. And then it was, I can't remember what the second one was, but it was just, it's bad play calling time and time again. Not time and time again, but it in critical situations like this, I feel like Joe Brady comes up short too often and tries to rely on just too many times. He's too cute. And I don't like it at times. So I think that needs to be buttoned up. There's times where, like the last drive between him, McDermott, and
they did great.
The last drive before the first half, they left 0 time on the clock for Baltimore. It was perfect time management, perfect drive. Everything was running perfect. I just need more of that, like from this offense. This offense, too many times. As much as I like to give them credit for going 10-0 at home this season, including playoffs,
Flawless.
It's just too many times. It's just been a little too
and also,
cute.
Amari
really
Cooper, what was the point of picking him up? One target.
Coleman, non-existent. Like
both of them, 1 target each. 2 targets for Coleman and Cooper. I know Josh only threw 22 times, but why did you get them? Like, why did you pick them up? I don't get it. And then that Knox screenplay, like, you have Josh Allen, let him do his job. At 3rd and 5, he can either scramble for 5 yards, find somebody open, like, give him a chance. Like, taking the ball immediately out of his hands for a screen pass to Dawson Knox on 3rd and 5 just seems horrible. But they won. We'll try to stay positive. Yay, team.
Going to AFC Championship in Arrowhead. I don't think it's called Arrowhead anymore. Kansas City.
Please crush them. My goodness.
Here's the issue, Phil. It's at 6:30 again, so get ready for another night game and another
Sunday night. I was like,
Sunday night. Yeah,
that's
gonna
a bummer.
be fun. But at least there's no Bandits, so it shouldn't be a massive game.
Just the Bills.
But we'll go into our last segment, which should be really quick. Sabres Friday versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. 5-2 loss. Power and Benson were the goal scorers. UPL struggled in this one. I think he came out hurt. 14 of 18 saves. Shots were 42-19 in favor of Buffalo. Buffalo was 1 for 5 on the power play. They're sitting at 17, 23, and 5. But the most annoying fact is, remember the last game I talked about? They were the first team since the mid-'60s to score a goal in a period. They didn't have a shot on net. They allowed a goalie goal in this one, Phil. They allowed a goalie goal in this one. Every time you think, I should have put that on the bingo board. Nothing else checked out the bingo board.
Why isn't that on the bingo board?
They played 45 games. They got 37 games to go. It can't come soon enough. I hate this team so much.
To outshoot a backup goalie 42-19 and get crushed 5-2, and he ends up with almost equaling the goal output that your offense had. Good for the backup goalie. Good for him.
What's more annoying is this team had just put their starting goaltender on waivers the day before, and you outshoot this team 14-19 against a backup goaltender. Not only do you lose 5-2, which UPL stunk in this one. I don't know if it was because of the injury or what it was, but it's just this team, man. Like, I don't get it. Like, it's so bad, and I don't want to keep harping on the same thing, but they haven't done a single thing, which is the most confusing thing. Like,
they don't care.
They say they care, but everything they're showing you, they do not care. They don't make moves. Nobody's fired. How Kevin Adams still has a job, it makes no sense. Like, why should I put any care into this segment on this show when they're showing me they do not care? So that's as much as I'm going to say to this. Monday they face Seattle. Tuesday they face Vancouver. Don't care. Who cares? They don't. Why should I?
I do want to give a shout out to Bandit Land. They were sold out week 1, as we know, banner raising. But week 2, Friday night is usually a pretty quiet Bandits game because it's Friday. Everyone's coming from work. It's tough to get to.
Yeah.
17,200. That is insane. And then even this game, 17,500. Like, normally after a banner raising of the first game of the season, we saw a little bit of a drop off for attendance. It's incredible and really, really awesome to see Bandit Land this incredibly packed game in and game out. This might end up being, if this continues, their highest average attendance season ever. And luckily for Bandits fans, the Bandits are giving them everything they could possibly ask for with, just continually winning at home and being a great team. But it's just really cool to see the Bandits really grow, especially when the Sabres are doing this poorly. It's fun to see what seems like some Sabres fans convert over to Bandits fans and really just enjoy it. I mean, seeing 17,000 plus in 3 straight home games is pretty wild and just awesome to look around the entire arena and see it so full and so bumping. So shout out to Bandit Land. You guys are doing great. Keep it up.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add to that is somehow Scott Loeffler, if you're listening out there, if you can buy like a really big banner, like a really big one, and anytime the Bandits play, just like throw it over top of the Sabres mural that's out there. That'd be fun to walk into. Just like walking into the stadium or the arena one time and you're just looking up like something looks weird, and then it's just like giant Bandits banner across it. I mean, you might as well. Like I saw somebody put out on Facebook, like instead of calling it the Sabres store, shouldn't it be called the Bandit store? Like with all the Sabres crap that's everywhere, just take it down and put Bandit stuff up. I mean, they should be the main.
We're getting closer. Getting closer.
They're inching further and further in. It's fun to see, but yeah, I mean, less Sabres stuff, more Bandit stuff, less blue and gold, more black and orange.
Love it.
I'll loan you my flag. I'll if you want one. I'll donate that to the wall outside of the mural. But Phil, that pretty much ends this one. We got 2 of 3 victories this Buffalo weekend. One Buffalo.
I mean, if there was going to be one loss, we appreciate the sacrificial Sabres loss. Thank you.
We appreciate all the sacrifices you make, Sabres. You stink, so everybody else can thrive.
We'll take it.
Well, that's the good positive, man. That I guess we'll end the segment on the good. But is there anything else with this one before we shut it down and almost end Week 8 of the NLL with one more game on Monday night?
No, I need to go to bed. So
that is fair. You got to work tomorrow. I don't. But that will end this episode. Next episode, we'll give our most important player going into the Bills-Kansas City game that's not named Josh Allen. We'll find ways to involve the Bandits on their bye week and the Sabres. Keep being the sacrificial lamb that you are. But we'll end this one. Again, Phil's article out on Tuesday. Mine will be out on Thursday. Our NLL Pick'em will be out on Wednesday. And then our normal show out on Friday. So thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Once again, Phil's article on Tuesday, mine on Thursday. Check out our store on our link tree on our socials or at the shop tab at the top of the website. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.